All right. Hey, everybody. It is Neha, founder of College Shortcuts. I hope you guys have been loving my AI live videos that I've been putting out. Um, I know I've been doing that on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you're not following us, please do. I haven't been live on for a while, but I wanted to jump on here to give you some updates when it comes to the admissions process and what's really happening. So I'm going to look up a few times to see my screen on some of the things that I've written down because I think it's really important information. So first of all, I want to talk about, when we talk about the admissions process specifically and why it matters. First of all, yesterday I was at a Super Bowl party with a bunch of parents, and I had a good friend of mine who's got a 10-year-old and a 10-year-old who's a fourth grader, and they are already considering moving their home to be in the right districts for the right high schools for college admissions. And so I know a lot of you are thinking about education and what it matters and how it involves your student. I'd love to hear from you. What grade is your kid in? If you can comment below, I can customize this video based on um, specifically where you're at and what grade your child is in. So if you can put what grade, just type in the number like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'd love to hear from you guys too. I want to do some quick shout outs. Hi, Dana, hi, Ekta, hi, Shopi, hi, Foza, hi, Kush, hi, Raga, Niha, hi, Raj. Lots of you guys are here. So, hi, Kush said seventh and third. So, yeah, so a lot of parents are thinking about this early on, and it makes sense because when you're thinking about possibly moving or different schools and what it takes to get in, and these are parents who actually went to two top schools in the U.S. already. So these are parents that are first gen that already have been through the process. So one of the big things I want to tell you is that I don't know if you know that over 80% of students typically apply with the same generic applications, and it's costing them really their dream school. So one of the things I want to do is I want to talk about three game changing ways to really stand out in the admissions process, especially if you're looking at the following. If you're looking at top tier schools, if you're looking at STEM, a lot of our students are top students that are interested in STEM fields like engineering, math, AI, computer science, medicine, business. These types of majors are the most competitive. And so 80% of students, according to Harvard admissions, had similar GPA and test scores, making truly the extracurriculars and essays the differentiator. And so the first thing that I always want to share as the most important part of the admissions process is think about if you're reviewing, let's say, 40,000 applications for a job. Usually, what they want to know is who is this person, what do they stand for, and why do they matter? And when it comes to the admissions process, really crafting a standout personal brand is what really matters. And what does that mean? That means, not having the typical well rounded student who's, let's say, in debate, science Olympiad. These are the ones we see on our assessments all the time. Speech and debate, science Olympiad, taekwondo, robotics, works at the hospital. These are all typical extracurriculars. What they wanted is a student that is very deep into what they're passionate about, and has a spike, a unique strength, a project, a research paper, different things that really, summer programs, for example, that really kind of hone in on what it is that they're really passionate about. Instead of being, for example, like a debate climber, as a lot of students are that we know, one of the actionable items you could do is, work on creating articles or a research paper or even creating a podcast or something of some sort that shows a slight bit of extroversion while also building up your profile that's unique and not like everybody else. And one of the stats I want to give you, another one, is there was a survey conducted in the admissions where 94% of Ivy League admissions officers say they prefer students with a unique angle over a student with perfect high test scores. So I think this is really important because a lot of people, especially in my culture, always think must have perfect SAT, must have perfect GPA, and that's not always the case. Tip number two, the admissions narrative. And one of the things that I really think is important, Kushbu is asking, will this be available to rewatch later? I am not sure. I think it should be. And if you are interested, let me type this in. I just realized I'm on my phone here. If you're interested in scheduling a call with us to learn more about how we can really help you in the admissions process and talk specifically about your student, because I think most people come and they join on these lives, but they don't always take action around their specific situation, so make sure to go to that link I just typed in. It's collegeshortcuts.com/apply, or you can go to collegeshortcuts.com and click book an assessment. It's totally free right now. We're actually giving it away for free. Jeff is available to do a call. Just to give you a sense, he's been with me for almost half a decade, has over 10 years of admissions experience, 2 kids at top schools himself, so he's a parent just like you, and really helps to, with the admissions process. We are getting pretty fully booked out in terms of this year's upcoming cycle for both mentorship and college applications. All right, tip number 2 that I want to talk about specifically is the admissions narrative. So make every part of the application work together. There's nothing worse, for example, than when you read a resume and it says, I'm interested in fashion, I'm interested in being a social media manager, and of course I'm going to be the best engineer ever for your school or university or job, right? Like, you look at that and you're like, what did this person do and why do they hop around for 4 or 5 years? So most families treat the application like a checklist, essay here, activities here, but really what they want is a top compelling narrative that all works together. For a lot of my families, think about a movie you love and how, it starts and it explains kind of what the story is, what's going on, how it's going to work out. That's what they're looking for when they're reading an application. And I'm curious, for everyone that's on, how many minutes do you think it takes for admissions officers to review an entire application? I'm curious what you think. How many students have actually, how many minutes are spent in terms of the application process? Put it in the chat. So the big thing is, if your child, for example, is really interested in things like entrepreneurship, then their essays, their activities, their recommendation letters, everything should reinforce that specific narrative. For example, if a student's interested in computer science or engineering or AI, there's a lot of things you can do, self-studied, and learning about those types of skills. There's ways to write research papers about this and get published. That's a big one. And we do at College Shortcuts for our mentorship program have connections with mentorship, with institutes of research to help our students get published, which is very big. And so one of the big things is, another stat I want to share is that Stanford actually rejects over 70% of students with a perfect 1600 SAT score because they're lacking the admissions narrative. And just to give you a sense, that was from the Stanford admissions report, being very clear that we can get as many students as we want with perfect scores, but if they are not interesting, if they're not unique, usually they're rejected. And especially if they can't nail down a personal conversation, a pitch explaining who they are in the interview process. So soft skills truly matter. And we're going to see that through over the next 10 to 15 years. As AI continues to grow, as technology continues to grow, the people that are going to really be successful are the ones that are able to communicate effectively, be able to share their knowledge and information, and decipher that knowledge and technology. Tip number 3 for today is essays matter more than you even think, even over test scores. The personal score, as they call it at Harvard, is one of the most important parts of the admissions process, and a lot of people forget that. So in a world where sometimes things can be test optional, a mediocre essay can really sink a top student. And colleges want that level of depth and vulnerability and real storytelling. They don't want a resume in a paragraph form. And that's just truth, right? Like, you can be really accomplished. People that know me very well, for example, I went to both Rice, UPenn. I was a top graduate at UPenn. I was a major scholarship recipient. I was part of the Jacobs Fellowship. In terms of my background, I've done private schooling my whole life. My parents really invested in my education. My dad went to IIT. So I come from a family that really values education. But I'm also, there's a lot of awards to what I've worked on, from my TEDx, being an author, speaker, and being on over 100 news publications about my work for over the last 20 years. We're one of the oldest college admissions firms in this space. And I can tell you that all of that is great and amazing. But the truth of the matter is, what really matters is the emails I get when their kids get in, right? Like, yeah, great, Neha, cool. But like, what really matters is last semester when I got a student who really wanted to go to Dartmouth and he got in. A student who worked her butt off and she got into Cornell, or a student who got into NYU Stern Business School or got into Stanford. That's, in my opinion, my real accomplishments. Um, the fact that my team has been able to reduce stress and anxiety in the house has made teenagers happier. There's nothing more worse than living in a home with a teenager who's very stressed out or angry, high anxiety, feeling inadequate, right? Like, how do we build that passion and drive? And that's what we do at College Shortcuts with our mentorship programs and all the things that we do. So it's really, to me, like, you can have a resume that's really incredible, but what really matters is what value you give and how you help. And I think that's the big thing we try to teach our students. So tip number 3 about essays. Instead of writing, I worked really hard in my computer science club and I became the captain of it, or for example, debate or robotics. Tell a story about it. So for example, let's talk about soccer, my nephew's favorite sport. So my cleats dug into the muddy field. Here's kind of like an example of a sentence someone could do. I stood at the penalty line, heart racing. This shot determined the championship. But as I struck the ball, I learned a lesson bigger than the game itself. So in this, it's really expressing the emotion, the stress, the anxiety a little bit about like doing that one kick, and instead of just being, I was captain of the soccer team. So essays really matter in how you write it. And I can say one of the big things that we struggled with in my house specifically is, although my dad went to IIT, he did not know how to emotionally write a story. He was very logical. My mom also, English was not her first language, so like editing essays is not something that's in her wheelhouse. And so I can tell you, even with our essays, I can tell when a mid-40s or 50s parent has written in between paragraphs of students' essays, because you can tell the language looks different. And this is not an offense in any way, it's just to share that there's a very big difference between a 16-year-old writing versus a 45-year-old or 50-year-old writing, and also if English is not their first language. And so what we do is we really come in and we go line by line. The other big thing at College Shortcuts this year that we're doing is, over the last 20 years, we've gotten students into top schools. And so we've actually built out an AI model internally that will that is pulled from every top student that has gotten into an Ivy League or top 20 school. We've actually built an AI model that can help us as a team better deliver edits and better deliver essays with students when they're submitting their essays to us for editing. So for example, let's say a student submits an essay, they get to have 20 years of data from us using AI to help them understand how to make a better essay. So that's how we are at College Shortcuts, because a lot of my students are very AI driven. A lot of my parents are tech focused. I'm sure some of you are. Want to do quick shout outs. Hi Sujit, hi Sila, hi V Shelley, Sojanya, Yadir, Viholt, Sarisha, Kushbu. Would love to see you guys on a call, of course. I'll do some waves here to a lot of you guys. And yeah, so I'd say that, that's the big part about it, is that essays matter so much, and using vivid storytelling, emotion, and revealing possibly a personal transformation can really make all the difference in admissions. And the reason why I share that is because a lot of times my students tend to be introverted, or they are, they really struggle with being able to express themselves fully. And so really where working with a coach can really assist with that and how to write better. To give you a sense, our team are all master's or PhD level. Many have gone to top schools like Harvard, Columbia, Rice. We've got a lot of top level people on our team, highly experienced, over 10 years of work experience. So for us, it's really about delivering the results. And one of the big things I want to share is that, for the class of 2028, I want to share some of the stats that happened. The 8 Ivy League institutions and universities collectively received approximately 418,000 applications. Here's a breakdown just to give you a sense, and some of the acceptance rates of this last year. And look, guys, I've been doing this a long time. I can tell you that, and you can see based on the gray hairs, I've been doing this a long time. If you go back through my YouTube channel, my Facebook, you will see me DH in like 15 years. I've been doing this for such a long time, and I can tell you that I have never seen in my life admissions rates this competitive. And so it is getting harder to get in, and we expect it to continue to be that way. So standing out is going to make a difference. For example, Yale University received 57,517 applications. Let me also pull, what is the, let me pull something here. Because I think this is important. Also, acceptance rate was around 3.9% of how many students they accepted. To give you a sense of how many students for undergraduate for Yale was 6,500 students. So 57,000 applications. Princeton received 39,644, less than 5% acceptance rate. UPenn, my alma mater, received 65,236 applications with 5.4% acceptance rate. Harvard received 54,000 applications, 3.7 acceptance rate. Dartmouth 31,656, 5.3% acceptance rate. Cornell 61,000. Man, so glad my students got into these schools. 8.4% acceptance rate. So it tends to have a higher acceptance rate, but still a lot of applications. Columbia 60,000 applications, 248, 3.9% acceptance rate, and Brown was at 48,898. I'm gonna look at a comparison of applicants from 2000. Let's see if we can get that information for you, because it's important to know. In terms of the size of students, usually it's less than 6,000 to 5,000 students per undergraduate class. And within that class, there's a certain percentage they typically want to ensure there's a diversity focus, lots of different types of students from international, different races, different locations, and then different types of majors. They're not going to accept people that are all interested in comp sci, math, engineering, and business. So I think that's really important. To give you a sense, circa 2000, Harvard acceptance rate was 10.9%, 18,000 applicants. So we went from 18,000 applicants to 54,000. We went from an acceptance rate of 10% to 3.7%. So that's a third of applicants. Yale used to have 14,000 applicants, now they have 57,000. Princeton had 14,000 in the past. Columbia had 16,000, today they have 60,000. So as you can see, based on these numbers, we're seeing a drop in acceptance rate by almost 7 to 8% per university, or sometimes 10%. Columbia went from 14% acceptance rate. So all of the families that I talked to that, let's say they went to college here and now they have teenagers, they're all like, I don't get it. I applied to 3 schools and I got into XYZ. This is the data to show you why. They applied during a time where there were 16,000 kids applying, that's it. And acceptance rate at UPenn was 21%. So 1 in 5 kids got in, great. But today, that's less than 5% are getting in. So a lot of parents are very confused. And legacy policies are changing at a lot of these universities. So I think the big part is to follow the tips I've given you in terms of, really standing out in the application process, understanding that it's so important. And I'll tell you the next step that you should take is go to collegeshortcuts.com and schedule a free assessment with us. It's totally free. Totally free. And what you'll do is just to give you a sense of how that works, I'm putting the link in the chat here. What you'll do is you'll schedule a call, and then we'll send you a little link to fill out an assessment form. Just to give you a sense, I review every single one of them. I read every single one of them. And one of the things I always share is with my team who's going to do the call with you is you need to give information about where they are lacking, especially from an extracurricular perspective. Because one of the big things I see, because we read thousands of assessments, is that every student looks the same that applies to us. And I'll give you a sense. So if you have this kid and you're thinking they stand out because of XYZ, they don't. If you've got a student interested in STEM or business, if you've got a student who has the following extracurriculars, robotics, taekwondo, karate, piano, tennis, speech and debate, science olympiad, Model UN, I'm trying to think about all of them. Volunteers at a hospital, does anything South Asian related at their temple or church, or is, you know, a singer or dancer in Bollywood or in Gathram related. And I'm saying this is literally based on just a specific group of students we typically work with. I can tell you that all of those extracurriculars do not stand out. When you have a list of 10 that you can give on the common application, these are not the ones you want to be putting. And for some of you, hearing that might be very crushing, and I do apologize for that. But I can tell you, as someone who reads thousands of assessments that work with us, that typically those are expected. We want to help students to build the projects about standing out. Eagle Scout is cool, not so much related to an exact major or an interest. It's kind of like a cool hobby, right? Like, I think the big thing to think about is you got to look at college admissions as if they're applying for a job. It's not, and I know that's hard to like kind of think about, but 15 years ago it was cool to like work at the ice cream shop, have a job at Eagle Scout. Now they want to see that you've published research, you're doing projects, you're launching the company, you're launching the podcast, you're launching the website, you've gotten internships or shadow experiences, you've done summer programs related to that field or self-study, you've done online courses. That's different. That's a different pointy student than a student who's done more regular extracurricular. So if you want to learn more about how we can help you with that, and really cut and shave down your time, we save parents hundreds of hours in time for our college admission students. Many are getting scholarships, typically on average between $5,000 to $40,000 back because their applications are so strong. So you really save time and money when you work with College Shortcuts. So if you're really interested, go ahead and schedule a call with us and learn more. And also let me know how you're liking my AI videos. That was inspired by a student of ours who said, hey Neha, like you should use AI to post videos everywhere. So let me know if you've seen them or if you find them interesting. We're working on that. But I thought I'd jump on here live to share some tips and tricks around the admissions process, give you some data because I think it's really important to have all the information that you need in your arsenal of tools to understand the difference. And I think most people don't sit there and look at admission cycles from 25 years ago. You know, when you've been doing this for so long, you see how things have changed. And I think it's so important. So everybody that's joined here, thank you so much. Hope you enjoy this video. If you'd like to see more of these, ask questions. I am always open to questions here, answering your questions. But yeah, Kushbu, I love your, by the way, photo of your little child, and it's so cute. But yeah, being an Eagle Scout, it's cool, but it's not going to be the make or break on an application. A lot of students become Girl Scout, Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts. It's not the thing that stands out, right? Like we want to figure out how do we best use our time effectively, because 4 years is not a lot of time. And the way to think about high school is actually 9th, 10th, and 11th. 12th grade doesn't really count. You're applying starting August. To give you a sense in terms of students that we're already working with, many are already about to finish their 15 to 20 page research paper. They're getting published with us. And a lot of our students last year got into their colleges. Woohoo, super pumped about them. And what's always really exciting is the referrals we get. Like we have so many families that refer after their kids have gotten in, even 1, 2, 3 years later to us when they see another parent struggling. So always very excited about that. And then all of our students on the college admissions side that have started in January with our program, they're already building their school list and looking at their resume formatting to make sure everything is perfect. So we're already running live. That's why I've been so busy with my team and I forget to sometimes jump on here, but I'll be on here more. If you liked this video, please share it with your friends and family if that's something you're interested in, to help another parent out. You know, I think that's really important. We're a community, we need to come together, and we need to help this next generation. So if you know one person this could help, please WhatsApp it, share it in your groups, and please schedule a call with us at collegeshortcuts.com. Thanks everybody for joining, and see you guys very soon. Bye everybody.